Good evening, you're with ET now. This is a fresh edition of the India Development Debate. I'm Sandeep Gurumurthi joining you from our news centre in Mumbai. Joining me in Delhi is my colleague and co-anchor Supriya Shrinate. Straight to the big debate tonight. It's Yoga Day today and people across the globe are busy celebrating India's gift to the world. Back home, Prime Minister Modi himself was in the forefront attending a mega event in Dehradun, even as his cabinet colleagues and senior BJP leaders spread out across the country joining the celebrations. But even as the world got out to do yoga, Modi's critics say the hype around yoga is nothing but a smokescreen to deflect attention from critical issues like the rise in tension in J&K and governance lapses.
Indeed, while yoga has also always fueled speculation about a hidden agenda to saffronise India's culture and education system, it has tremendous benefits. Now, as someone who leads an extremely hectic life, I swear by yoga that I do every morning. I vouch for one thing, that yoga isn't just for the body, it's perhaps the only exercise for the mind as well. I do, of course, have questions on making it mandatory though. Questions also remain around the power of yoga to cure life-threatening diseases. But the critics can wait. Yoga is already a $50 billion industry, giving India and Indians a big opportunity in the global arena. The topic of discussion is yoga, the big superpower or the soft power coming out of India, right here on the India Development Debate tonight. All right, let's take this straight across to our expert panel. But before I go to them, Sandeep would like to share a quick thing. I think when the world was celebrating yoga all over, and from people in New York to Beijing to all other places were doing yoga, yoga teachers were in such great demand that mine missed my session today. And he actually texted me this morning saying no yoga class today. So when the world celebrated yoga, I think I was the only person who practices yoga but still didn't do it today. Such was the demand of yoga teachers all across India. But let's take it across to our panel, and we're joined by Hitesh Jain, spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, who represents the Congress party here, Harish Bijur, band guru and founder Harish Bijur Consults Inc., Dinesh Kashikar, Director Shri Yoga, and Dr. CVS Nambudiri, President Kerala Freethinkers Forum. So thank you each one of you for being with us, and considering we're talking about yoga as this big soft power out of India and a big brand, Harish, I think it's only fair that I begin with you. Is yoga really India's best brand for the world?
Well, I think yoga is India's biggest brand. It's pre-Vedic. It is this lovely four-letter word which is used worldwide by people of every denomination, every religion, and every inclination. I define a brand very simply. I say a brand is a thought that lives in a person's mind. By that standard, yoga is a very powerful thought, very closely linked to India and very closely linked to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, of course.
So Harish believes, the brand expert on the show believes that it's India's biggest brand. But let's take it to a detractor, someone who has been very critical of yoga and of its and of its benefits, so to say. Dr. Nambudiri, we want to get all perspectives in this show like we always do, and which is why we've got Dr. CVS Nambudiri, President of the Kerala Freethinkers Forum. Dr. Nambudiri, can you deny the fact that over the last few years, specifically largely on account of efforts by the government, yoga in some sense symbolizes India's rise in the global arena? Today, India is seen as, yoga is seen as a sort of sign of India's soft power globally, from Beijing to New York to, to Argentina, to name a city in the world, people have celebrated yoga. In that sense, does it not symbolize rising India?
Is the question to me?
That's right, sir.
First, let me clear a confusion. I am Dr. C. Vishwanathan. I am not Nambudiri. I am
Sure,
Dr.
sir.
C. Vishwanathan. I am an orthopedic surgeon and I am working. The rest is all right. I am working in Kerala Freethinkers Forum. Right.
Sure.
So that matters.
Apologies, sir.
Yeah, no problem. See, if you and the other panelists believe, if it is so, that this is India's best brand, then it's not a matter to be proud of, because yoga, I would say, is like Ramar petrol. If you consider Ramar petrol to be a big brand name of India, So, and you get proud of it. That is a similar situation. If you compare, if you are saying, because I would say that yoga is a very bad product, very bad product. This is a big hoax, to be precise. This is a big hoax. Previously, it was told that this is connected to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. That doesn't make any sense.
It's a bad product, sir. You're saying it's a bad product.
Yeah.
Sir, so why is it a bad product? I'm just curious to ask you.
I will explain it. See, you see the World Yoga Day celebration. I have seen it. Under the led by our Prime Minister. It lasted for about 36 seconds. Total yoga practice was 36 minutes. The total yoga session was 26 minutes. Out of it, 16 minutes were various asanas. How many asanas are there in Patanjali Yoga Sutra? None, absolutely none. There is only one verse that says about asana, Sthira Sukham Asana. So it has no connection with Patanjali Yoga as such. So that is one thing historically. And the rest of it, everything, the whole idea of this yoga being good for health is all wrong, unfortunately. These are not good. Yoga is not a good exercise at all. You see that what are the two essential components of the daily exercise that you need? Per week, you require 150 minutes of vigorous aerobic exercise that increases your heart rate. Yoga doesn't increase heart rate, no?
Okay.
The whole idea of yoga is to immobilize.
Dr. Vishwanath.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Vishwanath, I think you're making a broader point there, but I think I'll have to, much that I disagree with you, and I usually don't show my disagreement with my panel, but much that I may disagree with you, I've been an athlete all my life. And now I practice yoga, and trust me, I'm swearing by this. But I'll go across to Mr. Kashikar, who joins us from he's the director at Sri Sri Yoga, and he's joining us. How are you going to refute what the doctor says? He's a medical practitioner, he's in orthopedics, he understands our bones and the joints and all of that, and he believes the whole idea of yoga is to immobilize. It is not burning calories like aerobics does. It's futile. How are you going to refute that?
So one thing I would say that when the respected doctor quoted the Yoga Sutra, there are actually 3 sutras which talk about asanas, and these are principles. Like you might have a principle which says E equals mc squared, but that comes into so many applications. So the actual sutras that talk about asana are Sthira Sukham Asanam, Prayatna Shaithalya Ananta Samapattibhyam, and the Dvandva Anabhighata. Means that with these principles you can design many asanas, and definitely the world knows, and there's been so much medical research on asanas that have happened though I'm not a medical researcher, but I can definitely say for sure that the impact of yoga has been well researched, and medical research definitely proves the benefits of yoga. As far as the practice of yoga is concerned, I would say empirical knowledge, like you and me who have practiced yoga, I can vouch for the health benefits that I have perceived, and so do millions of other peoples across the world, and that's why yoga as a brand is so successful. If the product was not good, then I'm sure it would not last the test of time. It's been around for thousands of years, and people have been practicing it and benefited from it. That's why it's lasted so long.
Dinesh Kashikar on the show,
One
that the
more thing
product
that I would
weren't
like
good.
to point out here.
Allow me to interrupt you, Dinesh Kashikar. You're making a good point there. The product weren't good, the brand wouldn't be successful, and it wouldn't have global impact, which is what it's happening and which is what it's debating. You know, we don't want this debate to digress into the how efficient, the efficacy of yoga, the impact of yoga, but we're talking about the brand power of yoga and the role that this government has or has not played. Let me come to you, Sanjay, and I'm not going to sort of quiz you on whether you did your round of Surya Namaskar this morning or not. But the larger question really, Sanjay, is today when you see people from the streets of Beijing to the bylanes of New York practice yoga, would you acknowledge that this is the impact of what this government has done in promoting yoga and propagating yoga? And in some sense, it's a symbol of the influence of Indianness. It's a symbol of rising India.
You know, Sandeep, I think India has had one great, shall we say, proponent or a global ambassador of soft power, and that has been Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, he taught the world what Indian character and culture was all about. A respect for plurality, a respect for a religious diversity, tolerance, compassion, love, satyagraha, non-violence. I mean, you know, when you talk of soft power, I think we'll do a terrible injustice to that term if we make it so parochial as to discuss it as a brand yoga. Today, for example, and I'm being very, very clear on this, this is a subject that is very dear to me. I believe, and I'm saying that to both Supriya and yourself, that India's, shall we say, global soft power reputation is today at its worst ever that I have seen in my living memory. What is India making headlines for? India makes headlines, and please do a Google on this and you'll get the answers. Look at any of the foreign respected media publications you want to talk about. And India makes headlines for cow vigilantism, for lynching deaths, for attacks on women, for abuse, for the fact that today India is unsafe for a foreign tourist. What are we talking about? People are reading that in India we are becoming an intolerant society, we have become an illiberal democracy. That's what soft power is about. I agree that a Shah Rukh Khan and a Salman Khan film, Bollywood does wonders to India's soft power, as does software, you know, the IT businesses that have done fantastically well. You know, we are very proud of the food and the other elements that compose India's overall, I would say, export of soft power. But you also have an example of an Atul Kochar, a very famous chef, who indulged in highly bigoted writing against actress Priyanka Chopra, who is a global superstar, I was told. So you're talking about in India currently at the moment, in the throes of a very serious moral dilemma. And you cannot, you cannot replace them by, Narendra Modi doing a couple of yoga, kind of asanas here and there. I mean, this yoga is a critical component. I swim, I play tennis, I do yoga before and after. And I think it's got health benefits. I won't agree with the doctor who said it's harmful. Maybe it is for him, I don't know. But I can definitely say that for this government to reduce yoga as its only avenue to soft power is mocking the greatness of the term soft power itself. I think India today is having a situation where our integrity, our credibility as a great country, known for Gandhi, is today at an extremely low ebb. You know, I'm not able to hear you all clearly because the sound is very
we get your point there. Yeah, so Sanjay, just hold your thoughts there. I think you've pointed me in the direction of my question. I was curious to know if you do yoga or not, and I'm glad you. No, I've got your point there, and you've pointed me in the direction of my next question. I was saying I was curious to know if you do yoga or not. Glad to know you do it and you believe it has great powers. But let me take this across to Hitesh Jain. And Hitesh, much like Sanjay, a lot of people and critics out there say that the whole brouhaha and the big deal that's being made about Yoga Day, getting ministers to go to different parts of the country and propagate yoga, all of this is a diversionary tactic for a government that appears to be distracted from its core governance agenda. Should the government be in the business of sending ministers to propagate yoga, or in fact taking care of the larger issues, some of which Sanjay raised, but some of which, of course, he will raise because he's a political animal here. But, there are huge governance lapses. There are parts of the country where the government needs to focus all its attention on. Should it be yoga? That's what critics say. I'm not saying it.
Supriya, I am the student of the Iyengar School of Yoga, and for my formative 10 years, from when I was 5 years old till 15 years old, I was very fortunate to learn the yoga under the auspices of Iyengar Guruji in Pune. He was active, fit. Now what were we seeing? The yoga was in a small room with 100 people, but at that time out of 100 we had 30 people from different countries. So I remember when I was small, I don't remember, but I can recall my conversation between 11, 12, when I was 12, 13, 14, as I was growing up, about those conversation with people from different countries who used to visit Iyengar Guruji's institute, and they said this is the best gift of India. Remove Modi aside, but they say yoga is the best gift and we should take it. And what they were doing is, these people used to come in the school, they used to learn from Guruji, and then they started their small centers in the different part of the world. And they say the inspiration which they got, and if they were able to develop smaller centers, so they used to always discuss about, and this was, I am talking about 90s, as to why India is not taking this at a higher stage. Now see what has happened after 2014. Now yoga is 1,000-year-old this thing. Undoubtedly we are not debating about the benefits of health of yoga and all. What has happened? International Yoga Day, it does not just happen out of the cuff. 177 nations have voted for the International Yoga Day, and when you look at the images right from, as you mentioned, from Beijing to New York to Munich to London, I mean, isn't this our great heritage? We do not deny the gift of Mahatma Gandhi, we do not deny our Bollywood, we do not deny about the food, but yoga is also our product which has to be, I mean, ultimately we should be known by different brands. Is it something that if the iPhone 7 was there, that means iPhone 8 will not come, 9 will not come, 10 will not come, iPad will not come, the other products will not come? There are so many. India is rich with its culture and heritage, and this is what we are trying to do and showcase, and this basically then acts as a best bridge to also build a bilateral relationships, or where the relationships are strained. The concepts of yoga, soft power basically acts as a tool to build the bridge. So, I mean, as far as Congress is concerned, they cannot look beyond, they want to paint the picture of negativity, they are in the campaign mode, they are looking at the elections, let them look. But today is not the day of the politics, today is not about the day of tutu mai mai, today it is the day if something good is happening, and if they cannot acknowledge that good thing, I mean, they will practice in the home, they will practice yoga, but outside, no, we are secular, you know, we are liberal, we do not believe in this thing. I mean, for the sake of saying, they can say that spokesperson can say, but the images which we have seen from morning to evening demonstrate the power as to how India is emerged as a global player on this soft power, and how we have brought yoga at the forefront.
Okay, that's Hitesh Jain making a spirited point, and he's doing that. We can see those lovely visuals from Turkmenistan, and frankly, it is a statement in some sense. But you know, Harish, if I could come to you, and you know, Indians, even from our own sort of selfish point of view, Indians are sort of inherently, you know, fitness and health, we haven't sort of attached the kind of premium that one should compared to a lot of Western countries. You know, even if you leave aside the fact that this is, you know, emerging in, you know, projecting India as sort of a global soft power, etc., the government is investing what one would say its political capital in holistic development and fitness. The fact that the Prime Minister is in Dehradun, you know, doing yoga with 50,000 people, the fact that cabinet ministers have been traveling across the country, chief ministers in BJP ruled states. For some reason, a lot of other opposition leaders have boycotted, with the exception of the Kerala chief minister, though. Why are we seeing an agenda here, Harish?
Well, I don't think we should look at an agenda at all, particularly when it comes to yoga, which is such an ancient spirited workout, if you really look at it. If you look at the current government, I think its focus on yoga and showcasing it on the International Day of Yoga, which is not ours, which is an international property, I think that's a great thing. And the government is doing a brilliant job about showcasing it. If you look at yoga, I think yoga has always been popular. And in this country, if you look around this panel, except for one, I think everybody is a yoga practitioner in some way or the other. The only thing that's happened today is that yoga has come out of the closet. And if you look at the country as such, you know, there are two types of nations in the world. One is a country which discovers wealth first and health later. The second is a country which discovers health first and wealth later. Most countries discover wealth first and then health. I'm not sure where we are in India, but yoga is coming out of the closet. People are getting to be very, very aware of the fact that our lives are important, and our lives are at times more important than the money we make.
You know, I'm going to go back to Sanjay Jha, and Sanjay, you know, I do have to ask you, I know you're going to be critical of the brouhaha that's been created, and I think some people have raised eyebrows, a lot of you in the opposition have, but is it just for the sake of it? I mean, Pinarayi Vijayan, the Chief Minister of Kerala today, lauded the greatness and benefits of yoga and urged people to embrace it. And I'm given to understand that you are a practitioner of yoga also. So unlike what Hitesh Jain is saying, I don't think you're denouncing yoga. Are you simply opposing it because you're the opposition, you don't want to be seen supporting something that the government is trying to spearhead here?
You know, Supriya, I'll give you one example. And I think, one of the things that we should never get fooled by is a government that indulges in a lot of synthetic symbolism. Let me give you the example of what I believe is a very core component of soft power that perhaps nobody has mentioned yet, which is press freedom. The freedom of expression, the freedom to debate. I mean, these are what makes a country's character. I mean, you travel to any part of the world, you ask, what is this country all about? And you get to know by what people say about it. You have a situation today where Gauri Lankesh was murdered, Shujat Bukhari has been killed, and you have a government that essentially has been ambivalent on the brutal repression that is going on various sections of not just media, but people who oppose the government. Now, soft power does not include that. Soft power does not tell you that you do yoga here and you talk about XYZ health benefits here while you suppress the women. You have a Kathua rape incident and you try to gloss over it. These are not manifestations of what I call as a soft power. Soft power is about, basically a society that is liberal, that thinks progressively, that has got no gender, caste and religion biases. And therefore, I started by telling you, I think we are becoming lost in islands. Narendra Modi does yoga and he's trying to popularize it. Trust me, I was doing yoga long before I saw Narendra Modi doing his pyrotechnics on some grounds in Delhi.
170 countries have not backed
a
resolution to make today the World Yoga Day. To that extent, you have to give them credit, Sanjay. But I take your point, and we did ask that question as well. But I think Dinesh wanted to make a quick, come into the quick response. Dinesh, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks. I actually was going to say that I was in Beijing last month and I'm going to US tomorrow. And what I have seen from my travels is on the ground, there's a lot of respect for India because of yoga. And the bigger brand of which yoga is a part, a subset, which is spirituality. In fact, India is known for its spirituality and the fact that that other people are proud of what we have. I think we should be proud of what we have too. As I travel across the world and teach so many people yoga, I feel that initially, maybe 10, 15 years back, yoga was viewed more as a physical activity. But today, as lifestyles change and people start to find meaning in life and they're looking for something higher, the subtler aspects of yoga, where it's not just an exercise, but something more than an exercise, something to find fulfillment, something to get a good night's sleep, and something to find meaning in life. I think this is what really is the power of yoga, and that's what the whole world seems to be finding today. And I feel really vindicated when I go around and teach yoga. I did a master's in chemical engineering from IIT Bombay. And I decided, hey, this is what I really want to do. And for the last 23 years, I've been traveling and teaching as a volunteer. And I find this one of the most rewarding ways of reaching out to people. In fact, through the Art of Living Foundation, today the world over, we have celebrated Yoga Day. We have had people from all walks of life, people from all cultures, people, all gender, race, religion, everyone coming together and practicing yoga. And not only just an asana, but meditation and pranayams too. And what we have really seen is that yoga is that one thing that can bring people together. In fact, yoga comes from the root yuj, which means to unite or bring together. And I feel this is what the world needs today. And that's why people are looking to yoga to find solutions for what is facing the world today. Today there is so much divisiveness in the world. People want to say, hey, my way or the highway. But I
Fine,
think
Dinesh, let me get a quick reaction from.
yoga and the
Allow me to
experience of
interrupt you
yoga
there,
brings
Dinesh. Let me
people
get a quick
together.
reaction from Dr. Vishwanath before I go back to Hitesh and Sanjay. Dr. Vishwanath, you heard Dinesh, and he earlier made the point, and I think Harish as well made this point, that if the product was weak, the brand wouldn't be this powerful. I mean, world over, country after country, people wouldn't be adopting yoga and propagating it if the product were, were not fundamentally strong, sir.
I will need a lot of time to explain it, but let me try. See, I compared it with Ramar petrol. You know what Ramar petrol contained? Benzene and toluene. And it was sold, and it was brought by many people. It was very popular. It was tested in IITs. It was accepted by many people. Even Abdul Kalam at that time, he was a some high position, not president. At that time, it's 1996. They all commented on it. It took 20 years to show that this is benzene and toluene. It is nothing. It's like that. See, if you go to ancient classics, how many asanas does the Hatha Yoga Pradipika say? Only 15. How many does Shiva Samhita have? Only 4. And how much does the D.K. Iyengar's book this contain? Right on Yoga? 200 asanas. Where did all these asanas come from? You can see this book, Mark Singleton's book. See how it has come from various kinds of physical postures taken from various places, like circus, like gymnastics. So it all, you say it is thousands of years old. It's not true. It is a 20th century product, mostly created by people from 20th century. I have actually put out some challenges to the yoga enthusiasts. See, if you can, just one or two examples. See, you see this Shirshasana is supposed to be, by the Iyengar's book, Shirshasana is supposed to be the king of asanas. Is there any reference to this Shirshasana before 19th century? None at all. None at all. And you say about the Surya Namaskars. Is there any reference of Surya Namaskars before 20th century, before the king of Aundh, who was a disciple, who was practicing the Sandoz method? Before that, absolutely none. So I have offered a price of ₹1 lakh to anybody who can show me that there is a reference to the Shirshasana in anything for 19th century. So this is a modern product. This is a synthetic thing. If it took 20 years to debunk the Ramar petrol, it will take another few years to debunk this. So that this is an illusion. This is an illusion that
Dr.
stood thousands of years.
I get your point there.
It is not a fact. It is a 20th century product.
Dr. Vishwanath, I get your point there, because the sense that I'm getting is
it is being sold because of other reasons. Coca-Cola is being sold. It's a big brand.
For whatever reason it's being sold, it's going off the shelves in a really big way. Dr. Vishwanath, for whatever reasons it is sold, it's going off the shelves in a really big way. We cannot live in denial. Yoga is something that the world is embracing. I mean, there are just so many people I know who are doing yoga. I mean, you know, the Sri director here is a chemical engineer. So yes, I think you have a broader point of view on whether it's the 19th century or is it a recent invention. We can debate upon that. But Hitesh, I will come to you. And, you know, I'm curious to understand public funds, government institutions, government money, I mean, you know, government's time. Everyone is gearing up to promote yoga. Is that the right approach? I mean, I think it's very important for India to be fit. I have no qualms with that. What I have qualms with is, should this kind of public fund be used to promote yoga when there are extremely other pressing issues of, you know, of existence that deserve attention?
Well, I think this question is little misplaced, because it is like on the yoga day you are promoting, but you cannot just look from yoga purely from one promotional point of view. You have to look at yoga as an institution and how yoga can not only act as a fitness this thing for various for the citizens of India, but also the amount of opportunities it is creating. For example, now practically in every household, you will see in the urban household or even in the rural areas, lots of people are being trained as a yoga teacher. It is opening up. I mean, like, there are trainers, there are yoga teachers. You open the newspaper, you look at the internet, it has opened one of the space. So if it is such an important space, and if it is such a culturally and which can be an economically viable product, I mean, the government should propagate everything. Whatever we have good in our armory should be promoted. Unless we do not promote it, unless we don't bring it out of closet, unless we do not show to the world that what are the advantages, both in terms of physical fitness, from the point of the fitness, and also from the point of creating an opportunity for various people. One has to look at it. See, as far as the Congress version is concerned, unfortunately, they cannot look beyond Gandhis and Nehrus. If the yoga had a name as a Gandhi yoga or Nehru yoga, they would have been tom-tomming. For them, like, for example, their president talks about shikanji wala and dhaba wala, he should have spoken about how yoga is our product and how this is a product which we have given to the global world. I mean, if one has to look at from the narrow parochial way or negativity, you can always find faults. But one has to look at the basic thing. Can we deny the fact that amount of the economic opportunities it has generated for various individuals?
Please allow me to come in.
I think one has to look from that point of view. The product is there and it should be marketed.
Hitesh, please let me come in. I don't think yoga should be a Congress BJP issue, and if you're trying to make it one, I must tell you that Indira Gandhi was the first Prime Minister of India who practiced yoga and propagated it very much. So if the Congress... No, one second. If the Congress has an issue with it, they should have an issue with their former Prime Minister as well. So that is where I will argue and I will refute your point. Indira Gandhi was a big practitioner of yoga. She even wore the Rudraksh after she started practicing yoga. Please hold your thoughts there. But Harish Bijura, I will come to you. Is there, and this is the big criticism against yoga. And as somebody who practices yoga, I am somehow ambivalent on this point. Is there an inherent Hindutva overtone in the way the yoga is being promoted or the way yoga is done actually? I mean, I have practiced yoga with about 3-4 teachers now, and it always begins with a Gayatri month and Om. Is that why there is an apprehension, you believe?
Yes, I think that is the basic apprehension, and that is what makes yoga not as secular as most people want to perceive it to be. If you look at it, the connection of yoga with Hinduism is certainly undeniable. If you look at or Jainism or Buddhism, because all these stem from the same, if you look at it. If you however look at yoga and Hindutva, now that is a separate issue. I would definitely, delineate and demarcate Hinduism and Hindutva. Between the two, I think yoga must not get caught between these two stools. Yes, the Hindu link is undeniable and it is something yoga is proud of. But if you look at yoga, I think yoga is much bigger than all its detractors or all the folk who go out to promote yoga. Yoga is certainly much bigger than any of us on this panel who could be a detractor, and certainly bigger than a promoter, and the promoter today could be Mr. Narendra Modi, who is going out and promoting yoga within the Indian context. So I think yoga is much bigger than it all, and I think it should remain that way.
Sure, I take that point. Since you are talking of the Prime Minister promoting yoga, Hitesh, a follow-up to you. I'll come to Sanjay as well. I didn't miss the saffron mats in Dehradun where the Prime Minister along with 50,000 people performed yoga this morning, and those visuals are on the screen. All the yoga mats were saffron in color. Is it just a coincidence, Hitesh?
Well, if you want to look at saffron, then you can see the green grass also. It all depends upon how you look at the glass half full or glass half this thing. And for those people who look, I mean, again I mentioned to you, there is this what is the Patanjali shloka? Yogena chittasya padena vacha maram sharira sachavaida kena. What is the meaning? It talks about purity of mind, it talks about purity of soul, and it talks about that if our mind and soul are pure, our actions can be pure. So, I mean, in this, there is no Hindutva, there is no religion. If one wants to look it from the narrow prism of to criticize something and look at the religion and everything, they can always look into it. But if you want to look at positivity, those 50,000 people were there. When you look at 177 nations, those voted, there were so many hundreds of Muslim nations were also there. So, where is the Hindutva over there? And all those 177 nations who voted, are they all Hindutva countries?
Right. You know, the yoga is done with this namaskaram, and this namaskaram is Hindutva. Please don't get me wrong there. I practice yoga.
I want to ask, is there anything, I want to ask, is there anything wrong in the saffron color?
If those mats were
Why
green,
should
we
we
wouldn't
be
have asked
ashamed?
you this question. Hitesh, 1 second. You and I are not in disagreement here. You and I are not the panelists. You and I are not supposed to argue yoga. All I'm saying, the lawn was green, the mats weren't green. If the mats were green, we wouldn't have asked you that question. But let's leave it at that. I will go to Dinesh Kashikar. And Dinesh Kashikar, it's not about yoga. There is a context to this. Almost appears to be a design of sorts. From
Why
yoga
should we be
to
ashamed of
Ayurveda to
saffron
Sanskrit.
color?
Do you think propagation of yoga... Hitesh, I'm not talking to you right now. Dinesh Kashikar, do you think propagation of yoga by this government is a part of an overarching agenda, and which is why this debate gets fueled, which is why one is tempted to ask, one is forced to ask, why saffron, why not black, why not red, why not green, why not blue, why not white? I practice yoga and I practice it in a class sometimes. I've seen very few saffron mats. Go ahead, Dinesh Kashikar.
Supriya, I would say that I wear white, in a certain sense, let me start with something very basic. As an Indian, I'm very proud that yoga originated here, and the whole world accepts this fact that yoga originated in India, and this is the source, the authentic source of yoga. When I went to China, I saw that people look at teachers who have trained in India as more authentic than any other teacher of yoga. There is a value to a training that's been done in India or been done by Indians. Having said that, I would say just by eating Chinese chop suey, I don't become Chinese. Just by buying an iPhone that was designed in California, manufactured in China, or bought in India doesn't make me American or Chinese. So in a certain sense, the lot of knowledge originates at different places, but I would say the knowledge of yoga is universal. And that's what we have seen in our teaching of yoga worldwide, is the fact that how can we make this more universal? In fact, you had mentioned to start with that there is some chanting, some Om or the Gayatri mantra. In a certain sense, I would say that that even the Gayatri mantra, which is often considered Hinduism, the mantra itself says Naha Prachodayat, and the word Naha means us. In a certain sense, it's universal. It was discovered, or the Rishi associated with that mantra is Vishwamitra, the friend of the world. If you look at all these kind of references, I would say that spirituality can be used to unite the world, and that's what I see Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar and the whole Art of Living Foundation doing. So today we have grown to an organization which is teaching yoga all over the world, and we have that credibility which we have managed to build up in all these years.
Okay, I take that point, sir. Sanjay, Dinesh, allow me to interrupt you. I need to take a short break. Dinesh, allow me to interrupt you. I need to take a short break, and I want to get a reaction from Sanjay. Has been waiting patiently. Sanjay, I know you want to comment, but I want to slip in a question. At the end of the day, you know, look, it's our job to ask provocative questions, and we are asking. But the fact of the matter is that people from all faiths all over the world are embracing yoga. Nuns in churches are teaching yoga. You have Muslim teachers in various parts of the world. You have Islamic countries which practice yoga. Why is it a problem only in India? Why is it only in India that we are attaching religion to it? Why we are being apologetic for, you know, propagating yoga and seeing it as some sort of a saffron agenda, etc. Why can't we just step back and say this is core to our culture, and here we are celebrating it? Sanjay.
Well, Sandeep, let me tell you, I don't think principally anybody is objecting to yoga as a form of an exercise. But let me give you the huge irony of the yoga being propagated by the BJP, the RSS, and principally by what I call as the ultimate snake oil salesman, Mr. Narendra Modi himself. Yoga, by the way, is about flexibility, not just of the body, but of the mind. And what do you have? You have a government that is intolerant and rigid, that is totally anti-yoga. It's not just about stretching your hands and your legs and your limbs. It's about having an open mind. You think India is an open society today? It is not. We have become obscurantist, we have become intolerant, we have got a streak of fascism. This is not my language
Piddis
alone.
can
This is the
only
way the
understand
world
this
is
much.
looking at India.
Piddis
Ask
who
Indians
behave
settled
like
abroad, they will tell you.
Piddis can always
Now, let me answer
understand
you.
this much
Let-
only. Sanjay Jha, you are
can
a
I-
Piddi
can-
and you will not understand
Yeah,
the
can
Hitesh, let him
Mr.
complete his
Jain
point.
be
Hitesh,
told not to
please let him
interrupt
complete
me,
his point.
Supriya. I
don't
don't want
get-
an
no, that's
uncivilized
not-
Sanjay,
that's not
Sanjay,
fair.
complete your point quickly,
And
please.
Mr. Jain should not be rude, impertinent,
I
and
don't-
vulgar to stop other people from speaking. That's exactly my point. I think Mr. Jain has proved my point.
You are
He gave
also
a
being
big
rude
lecture
by
on
calling
yoga,
names to the
but the
Prime
moment
Minister.
I differed
So
with
you
his
should also be
opinion,
careful
he
when you
started
use
jumping
the
into the
adjective.
debate. I think this is the perfect example.
No,
This is
I
the
am
perfect
sorry,
example
I
of the
used the
political
demeaning word for
hypocrisy
the
of the
Prime
BJP.
Minister, and I need to set you
I
straight.
cannot stand a
I mean,
different
you can-
view. I cannot
what?
debate.
I did not
cannot
get into
discuss,
that,
I
but
cannot
there is
say
no
Sanjay
way.
Jha and
It's
Hitesh
You
my
cannot call
way
names
or
to
the
the
Sanjay
Prime
Jha and
Minister.
Hitesh Jain.
Hitesh Jain, my way or the highway
Sanjay
is
Jha
not
and
yoga.
Hitesh Jain, can you
Arey,
please
my
keep
way or the
quiet,
highway
gentlemen?
yoga nahi.
Sanjay Jha and Hitesh Jain. Sanjay Jha and Hitesh Jain, please keep quiet and let us not reduce the level of discourse here. Sanjay Jha and Hitesh Jain, you can keep shouting, I will take a break and it will make you look bad. So please don't shout, both of you, and don't call each other names. Let's not reduce the level of discourse here. We're discussing an important topic, yoga, and if you're not going to listen to me, I will make you do 10 Surya Namaskaras right now, right here. So let's take a break on that note. We'll come back and we'll discuss a lot more on the other side. We will have our disagreements, but we will agree to get fitter. So just take a break right now.
Back with ET now. This is the India development debate, and we're talking about the soft power of yoga and whether yoga, in some sense, represents as a symbol of rising India. Dr. Vishwanath, if I could come to you, I know you've said very clearly why you don't believe in yoga and why you believe there is no real upside to doing yoga. That argument aside, the Prime Minister today, while addressing the International Yoga Day, said that yoga could be the biggest unifying force in the world, given the fact that diverse set of people from diverse communities, diverse cultures, it sort of brings them together. With or without the benefits, the fact that yoga in itself is bringing people together, communities, cultures in a fractured world itself, isn't that a massive reason to embrace yoga? Dr. Vishwanath.
I have heard somebody saying that no two countries with McDonald's have McDonald's restaurants with them have ever gone into war. Can the McDonald's people claim that this is good for so they are the champions of world peace? That is a laughable argument. Whether McDonald's food, fast food, is good for health, is good for people, that is an issue that to be considered in its own merit. So it may be true. You have McD's in two countries and they don't fight. So, and it has its own benefits in international trade and everything. So for Coca-Cola you can find in many places. It may be a uniting factor for the whole world. Many communities may be united by the common thirst for Coca-Cola. That doesn't make Coca-Cola an inherently good thing, either for communities or for the whole of humanity. Yoga is similar. When you see yoga, as I have tried to demonstrate the history, this was created in 20th century.
Dr. Vishwanath, hold on. Dr. Vishwanath.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Vishwanath, please hold your thoughts there, because I don't know if we can talk about yoga and a McDonald's burger all in the same breath on the yoga day. I feel a little guilty at 9:50 p.m. talking about a McDonald's burger, but that said, Dinesh Kashikar, let me come to you. It is a private choice at the end of the day. I mean, you know, whether you do yoga or you not do yoga. Is making yoga
Absolutely.
mandatory in schools the right approach? I mean, after all, it is a private choice. I should be given the choice of whether I want to do yoga or not. I should be given the choice whether I want to pray with my hands open or my hands folded. Just like, you know, I should be given a choice whether I need to do yoga or not in school. Why should it be mandatory? And is that why there is so much of debate and dissent on it?
I completely agree with this, that the practice of yoga is definitely voluntary, but I definitely also would like to say that the opportunity to choose should exist. In fact, if we take this compulsory debate to a logical ending, I would say that, well, a child doesn't want to study. Would you tell that child, hey, you should not study? Sometimes spare the rod and spoil the child is what happens. So, in fact, I'm actually saying that there are two sides to this debate, and I would definitely give the option to practice yoga and the right kind of advocacy to see what yoga is. I would also like to, at this point, say that world over, people are introducing yoga into the curriculum. So, for example, in New York, where I'll be visiting tomorrow, we are actually having yoga as part of education, as a means for people to get out of trauma relief. In the tsunami that happened in Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka, we actually went and used yoga as a method, as a tool, and people really benefited from this. So I really feel that
also saying
things
is
that
don't make
benefit,
it
that are
mandatory.
universal,
Okay.
should definitely be available.
Okay, I take that point. You're
Absolutely.
saying don't make it
Agree.
mandatory.
I would say,
give
but
people the choice.
definitely don't say it's don't chuck it out.
Yeah, okay, great. Hitesh Jain, react to that. You know, why this sort of push to make it mandatory, you know, give people the choice?
Well, I think one can look at it, but mandatory does not mean that it is being pushed down the throat. I mean, those people who cannot physically see, sometimes when as I mentioned to you, when I was 4 or 5, or when we were in the class, we were told that you must do yoga, or if there was no yoga in the school, there was a physical exercise. If there is no physical exercise, there was parade was there. So people don't talk about why parade is compulsory, why every children is made to do a parade. So this is something, you know, somewhere people, if you see, there are two things. Most of the people do not have an objection with yoga being introduced in the school. Now you want to criticize yoga, so you say, oh, by the way, there is like a mandatorily made and all, you are trying to make it small. At the end of the day, we have to look at this thing. Today the images, I mean, what we are seeing, the brand yoga has won. It has shown immense potential, both for the health and also yoga as a brand, and for India to promote as one of the important brand of India as yoga. One should look at the positive side. One can always keep on looking at negative or something. If there is something, if some corrective measures are required, it can certainly be taken. So I think one should not look at from the narrow prism. Oh, by the way, it is compulsory and all. Let's not. I mean, the brand, when on the day when the brand has become bigger, let's not belittle the brand.
Okay. I have just 2 minutes in the show. Supriya wants to do a rapid fire with Harish. Before that, I have one question for you, Sanjay Jha. Why do we have to politicize yoga? Why can't we as a country realize the fact that propagating yoga adds to India's soft power? Yes, you pointed out issues where the government has not performed well. Yes, you pointed out governance lapses, and that's absolutely fair. It's your job as opposition to point it out. It's our job as a media to question it. But why can't we, on a day like today, realize that propagating yoga adds to India's soft power? Why can't there be greater political consensus on something as basic as this, Sanjay?
Well, you know, Sandeep, if your democracy and your diversity is in danger, how can you say that promoting yoga is India's soft power? I mean, it is part of a much larger, complex ecosystem in which we live. And that is the point. You remember that when the movie Padmavati was releasing, there was violence being unleashed on the streets over a movie. And creativity, freedom of expression, a license to create stories is exactly what soft power is all about. Storytelling, that's what a Shah Rukh Khan film does to the diaspora abroad and creates the India brand. But if you're going to tell him that you can't do this, you can't do that, otherwise I'm going to beat you up, that's not soft power. And this is exactly the what I call as the hypocrisy of Narendra Modi's government from the time they have come in power. You know, at this point of time, let's not ridicule yoga. Yoga is fine. The government of Narendra Modi is so, you know, they come to press conferences and indulge in fake news. This is not soft power.
Right.
India is known for authenticity. India is known for literature. But authors have been bullied. Barkha Dutt and Ravish Kumar and others have been threatened.
You're making
What
a
are we
valid
talking
point
about?
there. I'm sorry. Sanjay Jha, you're making a valid point there. Diversity and democracy is important. Yoga is a larger part of this. I understand that. 10 seconds to each one of you, and I want to know what is your favorite yoga asana. Let's start with Hitesh Jain. One word each, please, everyone. Hitesh.
Shirshasana.
Harish Bijur.
Shirsasana again, but I have another point.
Go ahead, Harish.
Can I
quickly.
make it?
Please go ahead and make your point. Go ahead, Harish.
I'm simply saying one thing, that you know, at the close of the debate, yoga is not only a brand, but I would say yoga is a super brand. It is beyond every other brand, because most brands, we have spoken about the colas, we have spoken about the burgers, they either take from you, all brands take from you, whether it be a computer, a cola, a phone, or whatever. But yoga is one which gives back to you. You know, and I think that's one of the reasons why yoga is a super brand. And in closing, you know, humorously, I was just looking at the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and I was thinking, Patanjali as a brand name has been taken by Baba Ramdev. Yoga, we are now saying, has been taken on by Mr. Narendra Modi. The only thing left around seemed to be the sutra.
All right then, on that note, completely out of time. I would have loved to know each one's choices, but I've been restricted because we have no time on this show. Thank you very much, each one of you gentlemen, for joining us this evening. There is nothing perhaps that I love more than the wind against my face when I run really fast, or a glorious tan when I swim. But that's also how liberating that 1 hour of yoga is every morning. So let's not denounce it just because this government has decided to own and steer the narrative on yoga. But yes, I do have an issue with anything that is made mandatory, and yoga is no exception. It has to always be a choice and not a decision that's thrust upon any one of us.
But you can't deny the fact that yoga is indeed a symbol of rising India. Completely timed out in this edition of India Development Debate. Up next is Top 10 at 10. Keep it with ET Now.